This is the ultimate B2B marketing guide. It's a step-by-step strategy that you can follow to be able to implement marketing practices that actually work. By the end of this video, you will understand everything you need to be able to never struggle with marketing again and to be able to magnetically attract customers to your business. Now, first off, we need to cover the foundations. If you skip the foundations and just go to the tactics, you'll find that whatever you do doesn't work and you won't be able to pinpoint why. And I see this happen time and time again. Now, the first thing we need to look at is market research. We need to look at the market and firstly determine, does the market actually want our product or service? It's really difficult to objectively look at your service offering or your product and admit that people might not necessarily want this. But at the most fundamental level, if what you're selling isn't demanded by the market, no one actually wants what you're selling, it'll be impossible to market it no matter what you do. And I've seen this happen a lot. Someone has a product that they think the market wants, but the market itself doesn't demand, and they try everything to try and make it work. They run advertising campaigns following all the best practices, they do content marketing, they do SEO, everything under the sun, and nothing works, and they can't make anything profitable. And the reason is simply people don't want what they're offering. So just make sure that you do have a good product market fit. Additionally, in terms of the market itself, you want to be in a market that is either growing or is stable. If you're in a market that is declining, then you're going to have a really hard time scaling up your business. In fact, it's almost impossible to scale up in a declining market. I really hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you are, and you could consider leaving a like or subscribing, mainly for the cat's sake, he'll be fine, but he just wants you to leave one. I would genuinely really appreciate that. Anyway, let's continue with the video. Next up, once we're certain that we have a good product market fit and we're certain that the state of the market itself is healthy, we want to move on to audience research. Now, great marketing is simply an echo chamber. You repeat back to people what it is they're thinking in their own heads, and if you articulate those points better than they can articulate them themselves, you'll have a very good time no matter what channel you use. To find out what to put in your marketing, you need to do some audience research. The best way to do this is to simply speak to your target audience over and over and over again. This is a natural part of marketing and sales. If you have a manual outreach method, which by the way I'd strongly recommend starting out with, that means you are directly contacting members of your target audience. This results in a more conversational style where you get a very, very quick feedback loop as to what it is you're putting in front of your target audience. Then once you start getting people on sales calls, you'll start to hear and see patterns. So the target audience you're speaking to will start explaining their problems using very specific language, and you'll find a lot of people use the same language and describe the same issues. Once you start seeing these patterns, that's what you need to focus on in terms of the messaging for your marketing. Also, you'll find during sales calls, for example, people will tend to ask the same sorts of questions. Write down all these sorts of questions and create a little bank of those questions. Those questions are the types of content you need to be making. You need to answer those questions in your content, in your advertising, on your landing pages. Now, very often I speak to people on the free calls we run for people. If you want to know more information, there's a link below. And I'll ask them about their target audience. I'll ask them to describe who their target audience is in depth. I'll ask them to describe what the pain points of their target audience are as explained by them in their language. And very often people cannot repeat that to me. They'll be like, oh, I need to check, I need to find out actually. Or they can describe things, but they're very, very, very vague. You need to be able to reel off the top of your head all of these points. And once you can do that, you can firmly say that you understand your target audience. And once you understand them that clearly, everything else you do will be far easier. Additionally, this is a little bonus point, you need to understand your numbers. What I mean by this is you need to understand what the average order value of a customer is, what the churn rate of a customer is, that's how long will they use your services for or how many additional times will they buy from you. And once you understand those, you can understand what your lifetime average order value is per customer. And then you also want to understand what your profit margins are. Once you understand this, then you can backwards calculate that and understand how much you can actually pay to acquire a customer. Because all marketing is paying money, either through directly paying money through advertising platforms or paying money with labor in terms of your time to acquire customers. If you can acquire customers for a cheaper rate than they actually bring you in either the initial average order value or the lifetime average order value, you're in profit and you will grow as a company. Again, it's insanely common for me to get on calls, more so with marketing managers, but sometimes business owners, and they cannot tell me any of the numbers. I say, what's your average order value? They're like, oh, I don't actually know. Let me go check. I need to ask so-and-so. Or I ask them what their profit margins are and they don't have a clue. If you're a marketer or a business owner and you don't understand these numbers, you will basically be rolling the dice and guessing on every single marketing campaign. You could also be running a technically successful marketing campaign in terms of return on investment over the lifetime value of a customer, and you won't be aware of it because you don't know your numbers. So you'll end up turning off things that do work and continue doing activities that don't work because you don't understand the numbers behind them. So just to summarize everything there, in terms of your audience, I need you to be able to tell me who your target audience is. What job titles do they usually have? What company sizes are they usually? What sort of interests are they in? What skills or qualifications do they have? What traits do they have? What's the average order value of your customer? What's the churn rate of your customers? What's the lifetime average order value of your customers? What's your profit margins? And ultimately, how much can you afford to pay to be able to acquire a customer, to remain profitable and be happy? Now, I cannot stress enough, but the first 2 points I've just covered are the most important things you can do when setting up a B2B marketing strategy. So do not skip this. Now that we have an understanding of our market and of our target audience, what we want to do is we want to pick a channel to market to them with. Now, the good news is pretty much every single channel can work. However, there are variations and different channels that suit different offerings better. So as an example, I wakeboard and I have loads of paraphernalia for wakeboarding that I know I need. So I knew I needed a wakeboard and I knew I needed boots for my wakeboard. For those things, I went to Google and I Googled buy a wakeboard. That makes sense. Google PPC or SEO is a fantastic solution for there because people are regularly going to Google to find that product. However, I then started seeing adverts on Facebook for something called a jib board, which is a board that you can use at home and it helps you practice different moves on a wakeboard. I didn't know that even existed, so I never would have gone to Google to search for it. However, I do have an interest in the product. So as a result of that, a lot of people aren't going to be aware of the product, but a lot of people might want the product. And as a result, social media is a better way of marketing that product. So just logically think through, is my product or service something that people are going to actively seek out themselves, or is it something that I need to put in front of them so that they become aware of my product or service? That in itself will dictate which channels you might lean towards. However, a strong marketing strategy actually covers multiple channels. You really don't want to go down the route of just one channel because if for whatever reason that channel fails, your business is screwed. The most common thing I see with this is where companies rely solely on network and referrals. They got a few clients through network originally, and now they just rely on their existing clients recommending them to other people. That's fantastic, and every business has an element of referrals baked into their marketing strategy. It's an organic method of growth. However, it's a system that you don't control, and eventually networks and referrals get exhausted. You reach the end of a social bubble. So you can't just rely on that. And as a result, you want multiple different channels with different approaches so that if any one does fail, you have the support of all the others. So a good strong foundation of B2B marketing is to have some outbound approaches and some inbound approaches. Outbound approaches are things like cold email or cold calling. I prefer cold email. Inbound approaches are things like content marketing or paid advertising. Having multiple channels not only makes your foundation stronger, but they each inform each other so the effectiveness of all channels improve. So the next point I'm going to go through is where most people with a good product market fit go wrong. However, before we get there, if you are enjoying this video, you're getting any sort of value from it, and you want to potentially see more videos that are going to help you, if you can subscribe, I genuinely really appreciate it. No pressure to, obviously. Or if you could just leave a like, that would be genuinely very much appreciated. Additionally, my company Tech Growth Marketing is here to help you with your marketing. So if you want my time for free, all you need to do is click a link via the description below to claim your free growth strategy workshop. This is only available to companies that are established and looking to scale, however, not for new companies just starting out. So this next point is very important, volume and consistency. No matter which channel you choose, you have to exert a huge amount of volume in that channel for a consistent period of time for it to work. Quite often, people will pick a channel, They'll try that channel, they'll just dip their toe in the water. Therefore, they don't have mass amounts of volume and they haven't had consistency over a period of time. And as a result, they see no results from the channel. They claim the channel doesn't work and they move to another channel. The secret to success in any channel is to do a lot of it over a period of time. The reason you want to do both of those things is iteration. The more you do of something and the longer you do it for, the better that thing will become. So if you ran a Facebook ad campaign and you spent $100 over the course of 3 days, that's literally nothing. You're going to get no results because there's not even enough data there to determine if it's a successful campaign. What you need to do is commit to spending a certain amount of money so that you can go through the teething phase, test different things and learn what works and what doesn't. The best analogy for this is going to the gym. If you go to the gym once and then you leave, you likely won't see any real results. In fact, if you go for like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe marginal, but nothing major. But if you go for 6 months and you do that consistently, every single week, 3 times a week, you will see a significant change. The only difference is the amount of times you've been to the gym and the consistency of that activity. So just be aware, one of the major pitfalls that I see is consistency and volume. Whatever channel you pick, be aware you have to stick with it for a certain period of time to get over the hump. Finally, and this is the easiest part in how you actually scale up your company, you pick the channels that are working particularly well for you and you do more of them until you get diminishing returns. Anything that isn't working for you, pause it for now or stop doing it. This applies to channels themselves and it also applies to the actions within those channels. So let's say you're running a content marketing strategy by putting out content on LinkedIn. Provided you have a good product market fit and you're repeating the language of your target audience back to them in an echo chamber, and you've implemented volume and consistency by posting a large amount of content over a sustained period of time, you'll start to see some content types perform better. Maybe you do a certain type of video shot in a certain way, and every time you do that, you tend to get higher engagement rates. All you do is you say, well, we know that works, but every time we post a single image, it never works that well. All you do is you do more of those videos that work and less of those single images that don't. That applies to each marketing channel itself and the marketing channels overall. And it's very simple. All you do is repeat that process over and over again to scale up. What will ultimately happen is certain channels will get maxed out. So you'll do more of a certain thing and you won't get any more results. That's diminishing returns. Once that happens, you simply go to the next adjacent channel that's working maybe second best for you and you scale that up and you just repeat that over and over again. So I'm about to give you a quick fire summary of everything just so you can cement it in your head. However, before that, as I said before, if you did enjoy this video, you got any value out of it and you want to see more content that's purely designed to help you, if you can subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you can leave a like, much appreciated. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment. I personally will get back to you. Additionally, my company, Tech Growth Marketing, is currently giving away free growth strategy sessions. You get my time entirely for free. I'll go through you and your exact situation and recommend what I would do in that situation. That time is entirely free, but only available to companies that are currently scaling. So here's the quick fire summary. The B2B marketing guide to ensure you run marketing campaigns that actually work. Market research. Make sure you have a good product market fit and make sure you're either in a market that is growing or stable. Next, perform audience research so you understand the core pains and desires of your audience and the language they use to describe those. Then plan which channels you want to use for your marketing. You want a mix of different channels and each channel should logically match the activities and actions of your target audience. For example, if your service is something people regularly search for in Google, PPC and SEO would be a good approach. If they never search for it on Google, PPC and SEO would be a bad approach. Then realize that all success is born out of volume and consistency. You require these to refine your processes and actually start seeing results. So stop micro-committing to channels and complaining they never work. Then pick the channels and the specific actions or activities within each channel that work and do more of them and do less of the activities that don't work. That ultimately is everything you need to run a successful B2B marketing strategy. Really hope you've enjoyed this video and hopefully I'll see you again in another one. Every point I've discussed in this video goes into more depth in videos on our YouTube channel. So subscribe to see more of that. Any questions, just comment below and I'll see you again soon.